Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. 117% XRP burn rate surge sparks attention. I never looked at the XRP burn rate as leading to scarcity in the short term. But as of Friday, April 3rd, data from crypto analytics platform CryptoQuant shows that the amount of XRP burned as fees has surged to 1,031 XRP. While it has only recorded 474 XRP in the previous day, this marks a massive increase of 171.6% in the XRP burn rate within 24 hours. Like I said, I don't see this leading to scarcity in the short term. However, I think a lot of XRP is going to start to get burned as we see AI paying other AI, micropayments happening, the rise of cross-border payments with central bank digital currencies and stablecoins. But what this actually shows you is momentum is rising on the XRP ledger, and that's been happening for a while now. And a lot of people even wonder, why is this not being reflected in the price of XRP? And right away, people say it's because they are suppressing the price of XRP. And I would agree with that to some extent. Right now, we're on the verge of institutional adoption, and the institutions, they don't want to be paying top dollar for XRP. They want to get it at the cheapest possible price that they can get. But we're going to see a lot happen throughout the rest of this year, and I think that will start to be reflected in the price of XRP very soon. That volume rising. Ripple Treasury recently plugged into Swift's 11,500 banking rails as a certified partner. Swift Chief Executive Europe drops a bombshell. Take a listen to this.
The global GDP is the equivalent of the global GDP is processed on our systems every 3 days. So when you process the global GDP every 3 days in your system, you better be sure that you are, at top notch in terms of resilience. Another differentiating factor is scale. We have an unparalleled reach. We have a reach of 11,500 financial institutions, corporates, which at the end, we have a reach of more than 4 billion of accounts. We have 150 currencies on our network. We have 40,000 trade corridors. So
the only thing people paid attention to is what she said when it comes to that $111 trillion being processed on the network every 3 days. Think about that. Swift handling $111 trillion every 3 days. And then this came up. Using the quantity theory of money, where velocity token turnover is 30 times yearly, daily liquidity needs hit $1,350 trillion. This implies $21,959 per XRP on circulating supply, or $13,505 on total supply of 100 billion tokens. Maybe this is how we get to those insane price points on XRP. Remember, there's a lot of people out there saying that they've seen the private ledger, or they do these models where they show how XRP gets between $20,000 and $50,000. But this is possibly one way that happens. Top XRP ledger validator says this happens to XRP and it's game over. Once we bootstrap the XRP native DEX with high quality assets and deep liquidity, it's game over. Everybody talks about tokenization right now. And I'm talking about Larry Fink. You see the guy from Archax. other people are telling you, the DTCC, NASDAQ, that tokenization is about to really amp up in the second half of 2026. Yet people are still sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy XRP, waiting for the breakout to give them confirmation that it's time to go all in. Why not just get positioned now before all of this happens? I'm telling you, once all those assets start coming on chain, that's it. Retail is going to start to get priced out quickly. And people are going to be rushing to sell their XRP at $10, only to watch it hit some crazy price points shortly after they sell. I'm telling you, once XRP breaks out this time, it is going to be a lot different than 2017. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse on stablecoins and regulatory clarity. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, for sure. So, Maria, I think it is a fascinating time and place, and in part because of what's going on with stable coins. You have boards of directors and CEOs at companies, whether it's Fortune 500 or Fortune 2000. They're asking their treasurers, they're asking their CFOs, saying, hey, what are we doing with stable coins? Last year, G Treasury, the company we bought, now Ripple Treasury, they orchestrated $13 trillion of payments. 0% of those were through a stablecoin or crypto.
Now imagine they start using stablecoins or XRP in those $13 trillion worth of payments going forward. All of a sudden, either way, if they use RLUSD or they use XRP, XRP is going up in price either way. And yet people still don't see it coming. Everybody's like, oh, the price of XRP is never going to move. I remember back in 2022 and 2023, and for a good part of 2024, when XRP was sitting around 50 cents and people said XRP is a dino coin. It's dead. It's never going to rise in price. Then all of a sudden, once we got the new president after the election, we right away seen a major jump on the price of XRP. That's about to happen again, but not because of an election, but because of actual utility driving the price of XRP. And so many people are going to miss that breakout because they don't believe it's ever going to happen. You know, there's a belief system in Bitcoin. As long as you believe it's going to continue to rise in price, that belief system stays alive. Nobody wants to believe XRP can reach these crazy price points, yet it's going to happen. Everybody's warning you now ahead of time, but yet nobody is convinced still. I'm telling you, you don't want to be the guy chasing massive green candles. Grok confirms no forced XRP sell-off for Ripple under Clarity Act 20% rule. Remember, everybody's saying that Ripple's going to be forced to sell off some of that escrow because of the Clarity Act. Grok analysis highlights a key distinction that challenges earlier fears in the XRP community. The 20% supply threshold in the Clarity Act is not a strict cap, forcing divestment. Instead, it serves as one of the several factors to determine whether a blockchain qualifies as a mature system. Under the bill, maturity depends on conditions such as decentralization, open source infrastructure, and functional utility, not just token concentration. While holding more than 20% of the supply may raise questions about control, it does not automatically trigger a legal obligation to sell or burn tokens. This interpretation directly counters earlier speculation that Ripple could be forced to offload over 14 billion XRP from its escrow to meet the requirement. Remember, everybody said once the Clarity Act is passed, Ripple's burning 14 billion XRP. We don't even know if Ripple actually owns all the XRP that's sitting in escrow. And then people said you're going to see behind those NDAs the second the Clarity Act is passed. I think we might get a look at some of the people that had NDAs with Ripple, but we are not going to see who all has an NDA with Ripple. I know BlackRock is one of those companies. I mean, that's not even a guess or speculation. That's most likely a fact. Larry Fink cannot talk about Ripple or XRP. Brad, every once in a while, might mention Larry Fink, but not directly. What it is this. What Ripple and BlackRock is doing, it's so much bigger than an ETF. And I think it has to do with tokenization. But to think that the Clarity Act is going to force Ripple to reveal NDAs or burn 20% of their escrow holdings, it's absolutely ridiculous at this point. And honestly, I would rather have Ripple continue to use that XRP to build even more liquidity and build more utility around XRP. Next move for XRP should push us into double-digit prices. I think the initial wave up is going to be huge. Then we'll see that pullback and everybody will say, that's it, folks. The top is in. Sell off your XRP now or regret it later, only to watch the price go even higher because everything is lining up for more and more value to continue to come on to XRP Ledger. And XRP is going to be moving a lot of that value from point A to point B. But I do believe the initial push up when the breakout happens, I do believe we're going to double digits. Finance coach says when XRP really starts moving, it won't be straight up. I also agree with that as well. I think the initial push up is going to be big. But then I think after that, slight pullbacks and gradual upward movement. Here's what he says. There's no switch. When XRP really starts moving, it won't be straight up. It pushes from real usage, volume spikes, liquidity gets absorbed, price lifts. Then it pulls back, profit gets taken, weak hands exit, flows keep coming. Supply stays tighter than before. What he's initially saying is this. What he's actually saying is that. So you're going to see a lot of people exit once we get to the initial price points. Maybe it's $10, more will exit at $15, more will exit at $20, $30, $40, but the price is going to continue to rise. You cannot have all this value onboarding without the price changing. That's why I keep telling people this time around, it's going to be a lot different than 2017, 2018. You know, over the years, we've seen these moves. Every time that cycle plays out, it's the move up, and then all of a sudden, the price collapses out, and we go into a prolonged bear market. That's what everybody expects because of what happened in the past. And I always tell people, history repeats itself until it doesn't. And this is going to be one of those times where it doesn't. XRP is going to make a lot of people a hell of a lot of money very soon. Time traveler to Ripple CEO. We hold XRP to get rich and live our lives. But people in the community argue against that. The X Factor 33 rejected the idea that profit is the only reason to hold XRP. You absolutely do not represent the rest of us, the user stated, before adding that some participants are focused on what is being built and its significance. This isn't just about price, it's about progress. The comment continued, pointing to a long-term outlook that goes beyond immediate financial returns. The exchange reflects the difference in how XRP holders perceive XRP. Some approach it as an investment aimed at generational wealth, while others remain focused on the technology and its potential role in financial systems. How I look at it is like this. I know a lot of people, they're not going to be able to resist selling. Once they look at their portfolio and the amount of money that they just made off their XRP, they're going to be rushing to the door. The problem I see with that is you're selling into US dollars at a time where de-dollarization is already happening. Even now, look at our debt. The US dollar does nothing but lose value. Why rush into it? Take some profit, pay off your bills, take a nice vacation. There's nothing wrong with that, but never sell your whole bag. I'm telling you, in the future, we are going to be transacting and buying things directly with XRP. That time is closer than we think. It starts with institutional adoption and then mass adoption. All of a sudden, you're shopping directly with XRP without going to US dollars. And then beyond that, people want to get that passive income. They want to build generational wealth off of their XRP bag. You don't do that by cashing out into US dollars, and then all of a sudden you start to run out of money over time as the dollar continues to lose value. Other people are now looking at ways where they could get passive income without selling their crypto. This way they could pass their crypto on to the next generation, and that generation could maintain that passive income for their lifetime and pass that same crypto on to the next generation and the generation after that. That's how you build wealth over time. Don't be in such a hurry to sell into US dollars. I always tell you that. Especially now, you see what's going on in the real world. Countries no longer want the US dollar. We just had to buy back our own debt. Nobody wants to buy our debt anymore either. Times are changing. But until it all happens,